a team that should have been a contender last year but lost to the Heat in the second round, the Bucks, they went out and they put all the chips on the table. They traded George Hill, Eric Bledsoe, 3 first-round picks, and the rights to swap 2 of the first-rounders for 2 years to the Pelicans. And in return, they got Jrue Holiday. And, I mean, now they have Chris Middleton, Giannis, Jrue Holiday. They should have had Bogdanovich, but he decided that he didn't want to go there. So, with Jrue Holiday there, do you think that the Bucks are the favorites in the Eastern Conference?
Well, first, I just want to say it's funny how this deal worked out because originally when I saw the trade, I said the Bucks are only getting Jrue Holiday for George Hill, Eric Bledsoe, and draft considerations. It's a steal for the Bucks. It's a great deal. And then it came out they gave out 3 firsts, and I was like, oh, that's a lot to get Jrue Holiday. And then the swaps came out, and I was like, oh, my God.
I think that this deal was the most the team has ever given up for an okay player. Like, Jrue Holiday is a star player, but this is the most any team has given up for a player who is good.
Yeah.
But not a superstar level player.
Yeah, and on the surface, like if you're just looking at this deal in a magnifying glass, it's a horrible deal for the Bucks. I think that it is a very short-sighted deal if you're just looking at it by itself. But it's like the Clippers trading for Paul George. The Clippers didn't trade for Paul George. They didn't give up however many first-round picks they gave up and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Danilo Gallinari for Paul George. They gave that up for Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. The Bucks gave up 3 first-round picks and 2 pick swaps for Jrue Holiday and Giannis signing a max extension. And if they don't get him to sign that max extension, this is a horrendous trade.
And Jrue can leave too. I mean, but back to the question, do you think that they're favorites in the East, or do you have teams like Miami, Philly, the Nets above them?
For me, it was never a question of the supporting cast. It was more Giannis, and can Giannis develop that jump shot? Although I will say in his defense, and I don't think that a lot of people looked at it this way last year, his supporting cast was terrible in that playoff series against the Heat. And they did win that game without him, and that, it made it seem like they played really well. But Chris Middleton had a horrible playoffs, and nobody really played well around him. And he had solid numbers in the playoffs. So, I think that his lack of versatility right now hurts them just because he's not easy to guard, but he's easy to game plan for. You know what you need to do to stop him. Can you do it is another question. The Heat had the perfect personnel with Bam Adebayo and the bigs inside to force him to kick out and make other people beat them, and they didn't do that. So I like the addition of Jrue Holiday. I think defensively they're going to be incredible. You look at a lineup with Holiday, Middleton, Giannis, Brook Lopez, that's smothering. I want to see how they fill out the rest of the roster. Bogdanovich would have been a great addition because he would have brought some much needed offense and spot up shooting. It's going to hurt them that he's not coming, especially because they just lost Wesley Matthews, who's going to the Lakers, who they would have to get through to win a championship. They lost a bunch of depth, between, I'm pretty sure they lost DiVincenzo.
No, they didn't.
They would have lost DiVincenzo and Bogdanovich.
Yeah, they still got him.
So they lost George Hill, Eric Bledsoe. They lost some depth. It helps that they keep DiVincenzo. They have some pieces coming off the bench, but they still need somebody to start at the 3 or the 2, I guess, depending on where you want to put Middleton. So depending on how they round out the roster, I'll feel much more confident. But I feel like a lot rests on Giannis' shoulders. What is he going to come back as? And I hate to be the guy that says, he's not that great without a jump shot, because he's incredible. There's no mistaking it. He is a supernatural, freakish talent, but he is easy to game plan for. And if you have the right personnel like the Heat, who have not gone away, they're going to be the same team this year with Bam Adebayo just getting better. It's going to be tough for them unless guys like Jrue Holiday, Chris Middleton, and Brook Lopez step up, hit a bunch of shots, and then it's a different story. This does not make them favorites, in my opinion. I would still count more on the Celtics, the Nets depending on health, the Heat. I would feel better putting my confidence in those teams personally, just because I think they can develop this season into more versatile teams than the Bucks.
I don't put Boston there at all. Yeah, I don't think Boston can game plan for Giannis or even guard him. They have no big. So I don't see that. I think Miami and the Nets are the teams that I look at. Philly to an extent, even though Philly
I
has
totally forgot
really
about
bad chemistry issues. The Nets, though, I feel like they can, you put Giannis on KD, you put Jrue Holiday on Kyrie Irving and Middleton on LeVert. I think you can really neutralize them a lot. But, for me right now, I think it's about the Bucks bench. You mentioned their bench, but I really don't think they have a bench. I mean, Kyle Korver, he's probably going to retire. Marvin Williams retired.
They had DiVincenzo, but that's really it.
Yeah, like Wes Matthews is signing with the
They don't
Lakers.
even have who is their fifth starter right now? Because I know
Their fifth starter is DiVincenzo at the 2. That's who he's going to be. And then off the bench, you have DJ Wilson, Sterling Brown, and Robin Lopez. Like, you don't have a bench. That's what I'm worried about. Also, when we talk about Giannis's help, I think Jrue Holiday is going to be a perfect player because Eric Bledsoe, he couldn't shoot. Yeah. And he's very inconsistent. Yeah. Jrue Holiday, he can shoot and he can lock up on the other end of the floor.
And he's not a very high maintenance player. He doesn't need touches to be effective. He can just spot up and shoot.
We've seen Jrue Holiday play the point guard and become an all-star with Philly. We've seen him go to the Pelicans in this past year, have to play the shooting guard role. So he can play different roles. I would have liked if they didn't give up George Hill and they would have just gave up Bledsoe, because 3 first-round picks in both of their point guards is a lot. But, I think they can beat any team in the East outside of maybe Miami. I think Miami would be a tougher matchup. But I think it just relies on, who are they going to sign? Who are they going to get on the mid-level exception? Who's going to come want to play in Milwaukee? Because if Giannis doesn't sign this super max, then their future is done. Oh. They have no future. So they need to do something. And I'm not sure if this this trade for Jrue Holiday was the move to do. I think it does make them better, but they just gave up way too much.
I understand why they did it, though. They were scrambling after Chris Paul got dealt. They knew they needed to do something because they promised Giannis after the season they were going to make an all-out attack on a championship. And this was the move that they had to do. I don't know who else was available. I don't think they would have had the assets for Harden or Westbrook. And I don't really see many other pieces that are available right now that would be a show of we're really trying to get you a championship. So although it was tough, I get why they did it. You could call it bias. I personally think if the Nets are healthy, they're the favorites in the East just because their depth and their personnel is tough to guard. The Bucks have the right personnel to stop them, but they don't have the bench depth. And I think that in a 7-game series, that would kill them, depending on who they bring in. Because, I'd like to revisit this when we see who they bring in. The Heat are also, they're the same team that beat the Bucks last year. Granted, Giannis got hurt and missed some of that series. Tyler Hero's only going to get better. Bam Adebayo's only going to get better. Duncan Robinson is only going to get better. Yeah,
I get that, but also this year, if they face Miami again, it's a different team. It's a team that can space the floor better. And, last year you could sag off on Eric Bledsoe. You don't have to worry about him. This year, you have to guard Jrue Holiday. You have to guard Middleton. You have to guard these players that they have that can stretch the floor. So I think there's a little bit of difference there. But, no doubt about it, the Bucks have the best defensive trio in the Eastern Conference in Jrue Holiday, Chris Middleton, and Giannis.
And Brook Lopez is a great defender.
Exactly. I just think it's about who they bring in off the bench to score, because right now they have no depth.
Yeah, that Bogdanovich move would have really helped them. Just to fill out the starting lineup, even though it would have hurt their depth, I didn't think that they were giving up too much to get Bogdanovich. And now, again, they're going to be left scrambling. Just like they were for Jrue Holiday after Chris Paul got dealt. They're scrambling after they were prepared to make a move and they had already pivoted. Now they're going to have to do what the Lakers did after Kawhi signed last year when they thought that they had a chance. And they're going to have to find guys who are willing to come in for the mid-level exception and fill out that bench. It's going to be interesting to see. Personally, I don't think they're the favorites in the East. I think they can be come first day of the season, and that's something that we could revisit. But as of right now, I'm not saying they're the favorites in the East.
Hey, what's up, guys? You just finished watching a clip of the Pick a Side podcast. My name is Jrue Moran.
My name is Jack Barteck.
And my name is River Brown.
And we are your hosts for this podcast. We want to thank you guys for watching the clip. Like, subscribe, and comment, and share if you would care to, because it helps us grow. And we're trying to make this a full-time thing. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for supporting, and see you next time.